sat down in New York, Irish pub. First thing I ate, potato, paycheck on the radio, and a Guinness for breakfast. Well, here we are in Times Square. I actually hit this by accident. I just hit an Irish pub for breakfast because I happened onto that on 45th Street. Just making my way up to Central Park. Just coming up in a few blocks here. So here's a look at Times Square as it is today, and not a bad crowd at all. Hey, that's some Burt Bacharach, baby. Listen to that on the bells. Harlem definitely has its charm. Look at those stoops. Here's a classic brownstone right there. These are all classic brownstones, really, but that one definitely has it going on. Here it is. Just snag the keys while we look around the neighborhood here for a sec. Really very beautiful. Tons of hardwood trees all around New York, as you've surely noticed. This is pretty much central Harlem. And here we are. Just look at the age on this. Look at the detail on this armoire. And of course you have a beautiful view of the street from here. Here's the view of the street. Man, I don't deserve this. But if you look hard enough, you will find some super amazing things. There's the fireplace, very Dutch. Okay, let's go this way.
Oh, sing does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
Now I can get my blessings from Uncle Kim and Blaine Bradford. Here goes the N train. They had a rough day. Super sad. You know, 176 feet, Sonny. That is a tall building. This, of course, is the One World Trade Center. Here's another thing that I most wanted to do in New York City, which is to visit the Irish Hunger Memorial. So every stone, every bit of grass, every bit of earth here came from Ireland. And I really wanted to go to Ireland, and I've never been there yet. This will give you a little taste of Ireland. Love those stone walls. Someday I'm going to go down to Dingle and see what this is all about. I'm going to go to McSorley's. Speaking of Ireland, I'm going to go to McSorley's Ale House. You can get 2 pints at the same time, light or dark. That's all they sell. They don't sell any whiskey. In fact, when McSorley turned the business over to his son started selling whiskey. And once he heard about it, he came back and fired him, let him go. And once his son promised not to sell any whiskey or any liquor aside from beer, then McSorley let him take the reins again. We're in Tribeca right now. I just been killing time because getting ready to check into my place, and check-in's at 3, so I found this super cool pub called Puffy's. Kind of a silly name, but anyway. Okay, here's the new spot for the night. It's a lot more modern building, but it's very neat and clean. And my host is totally cool. She's an author from Beijing. She's written several books. There's the Statue of Liberty. About 100 paces from where I'm staying, you've got this beautiful view, Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty. Hey, here's one of the main places I wanted to come in New York. I'll let you see if you can figure out where I'm at. Pictures of everybody and a ton of history. Who's that, Brigham Young? No, it's not Brigham Young. I looked all over the place for the one person I was looking for, and I finally found him. He's right here. Alfred E Smith. Now check this out. This is one of the coolest things I've seen. These turkey bones. McSorley used to serve the guys that were going off to war. This is pre-World War I, a turkey dinner. This would have been back in the teens, probably 1914 through 17 or so. If they got called to war, he'd serve them a turkey dinner, and they put their wishbones up here. And these are the wishbones of the guys that did not come back from the war. Everyone else who did come back from the war took their wishbones down. I guess you know the name of the place now. McSorley's. Now I didn't realize this. Check this out. Right across the street from McSorley's is the St. George Ukrainian Church. Pretty awesome. The things you find in New York when you're not even looking. Gotta show you a proper New York spot here. Let me tell you something. You may not live through this place. Got this slice right here. It's calzones over there. There's just a cheese slice. That's probably the most famous one. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
And there it is. Take a look. In all its glory. Here's another really cool spot called Washington Muse. And we're gonna bust a left and show you an extraordinary sight as well. Ready? Here we go. Bam. Washington Arch, my friend. Let's go check that out. Sounds like somebody's ripping it on a trombone. George Washington. Thank you, Stanford White. This is the Manhattan Bridge. Lots of steel here. Lots and lots of steel. And the subway actually goes right over the top of it, as you can see. There's the Brooklyn Bridge, world famous Brooklyn Bridge. Lots of stone on the Brooklyn Bridge. There's one World Trade Center right there. Here's a magnificent neighborhood in the very bottom tip of Manhattan, and I'll definitely be coming back to this National Museum of the American Indian. Humongous building. Just on the other side of that, you have Bowling Green Park. First public park to be established in New York, March 12, 1733. Wow. Reconstructed 1938, it says. Well, I've finally done it. This is my first Broadway production. Wow. This is the Neil Simon Theater, formerly the Alvin Theater. And it is magic. New York is back. This is hopping for a Wednesday night. Cool little side street in Chinatown. Look at this colorful place. This is super fun. And this is a pedestrian zone too. You actually don't see a ton of pedestrian zones. Looks like there's a big line to get in somewhere. Must be a pretty awesome spot. Namwa? Must be it. Oh yeah, look at that. Namwa Tea Parlor. Awesome. And obviously a tour going on there. I'm just heading to St. James Place, and I found this along the way. Pretty awesome. Okay, everybody, I finally found it. This really is the main reason I came to New York this time. And that was to find the Alfred E Smith house. And it's right here on Oliver Street, on the Lower East Side. I just got to tell you, the moment I walked by this building, I got the chills. You can just look up Alfred E. Smith. So this is Oliver Street. You know, Al Smith was probably the main reason that these particular buildings are still standing. And this is just on the lower side of Chinatown today. But the reason I love Al Smith so much is because he's just the classic American example of somebody who came from the dirt and made it for himself and for his people. His grandparents were immigrants and came from Italian, German, and Irish. His mom was Irish, his dad was German Italian. But he identified mostly with the Irish side. And back in the mid 19th century, mid 1800s, of course, people were flooding into New York City, especially from Germany and Ireland. And the Irish, of course, kind of had no choice but to leave because of the famine. They were just all dying by the millions, actually, and came to New York City, just like so many other immigrants that were fleeing from, you know, in the case of Germans and Eastern Europeans, they were fleeing from political and religious oppression, anti-Semitism, whereas the Irish were fleeing due to the famine. And long story short, now we have America, right? And it has to do with those immigrants who came over here and I just barely left the Tenement Museum. And the Tenement Museum actually was the coolest thing that I've done so far. If there's one thing that I would, make sure that were on my list, it would be the Tenement Museum, because you get to see, you go right into the tenement, you go into the old building that essentially was abandoned and then was purchased and turned into a museum. So you see exactly where they lived and how many people lived there. And you can, if you look up the Tenement Museum, you can see all the pictures. They don't allow you to film or take pictures on the inside, but there are tons and tons of pictures that you can see if you just look up the Tenement Museum in New York City, and you'll see that. In this particular tenement building that I went to, there were up to 20 people, 20 families that lived in this one tenement. So you're talking up to, they said, about 120 people in one tenement building. And so just people everywhere. And you're talking a tiny little, maybe 800 or 900 square foot apartment for one family. The kids basically teamed up and just shared every space they could to sleep. And to me, that's the most resonant part of America, or the United States as we know it, would be the immigrants that came in and made it into what it is today. So if you look up Al Smith, you'll see that he was a major reformer. I'm just gonna walk right down the street one more time. He was a reformer. He's the guy that really got behind human rights, women's rights, children's rights, and put an end to child labor, put an end to just being able to work your employees all day, every day. And after the Triangle Shirt Factory in 1911, that was kind of the hinging point for reformers to realize that things just could not continue on that way, because people were just dying and dying. The Triangle Shirt Factory, when there was a fire, this police officer behind me is not too happy for some reason, but Triangle Shirt Factory, there was a fire and the doors were locked, and like 168 people, I think it was, died in the fire in the Triangle Shirt Factory. Ladies and children mostly, and they were jumping out the windows. They just couldn't get out, and that really was kind of the hinging point for labor laws, children's rights, women's rights when it came to working, trying to put an end to what I would call indentured servitude. And they talked about in the Tenement Museum today how your kids would go to work, and that would be a huge part of your income. So this one particular family from Lithuania, there was the mother, the father, 6 kids, and all of the kids went to work and brought home the bacon to try and make ends meet so that they could afford to live here in, America, where the streets are paved with gold. But really, if you think about it, if you have, let's say, the Tsar around the turn of the century, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but mostly the Russian Tsar, and the anti-Semitism, they weren't afraid to just round up thousands and thousands of people and just kill them off at will. And so that's what they were running from. And they made it right here to the Lower East Side, and this was the area where all of the factories, most of the factories and everything was happening, was right down here. Look up the Bowery, about, say, 1860. You're just going to see stacks and stacks of people everywhere. And if you've ever watched The Gangs of New York, that's a very eloquent illustration of what was going on down here in the Bowery in the Lower East Side during that time. So anyway, that was really my reason for coming to New York, was the Tenement Museum, and particularly the Al Smith house. So now I can say I scratched that off my bucket list. Hey everybody. That was a making my way down to the pier this morning, and I just stumbled onto Stone Street. Let's have a look at this view. Original pavers. All these buildings have been preserved in this district. Thank heaven. Absolutely beautiful. I just love the fact that, you know, just on the way to the pier or whatever in New York, you just happen along these amazing and historic places. Stone Street Tavern. That looks pretty awesome, huh? Let's take a look at what they got here. Pretzel $10, chicken tenders $12. That's not so bad. Stone mac and cheese $17. Those are decent prices for New York. Ooh, the Dubliner. Oh my gosh, is that Francis Tavern? That looks like Francis Tavern from here. Pearl Street, just coming off Stone Street to now Pearl Street. Let's go see what we have down here. I'm gonna stay on this side so you can actually see the buildings. Somebody's sporting the Ukrainian flag there. Good for them. Good for them. Not sure how things are going on that front. Ooh, 787 coffee. I think I'm gonna have to hit that spot. And here is, yeah, here's Francis Tavern. Wow. This is one of the most historic taverns probably in the world. And definitely in America. This one, the story is that George Washington actually brought his boys here after the Revolutionary War in thanks. Can you believe that? That means this has been here since the 1700s. Looks like they have live music. Hey, hey. Love me some live music. I have to come back for that. Oh, hey. Let's see here. Francis Tavern. To live in hearts. Behind is not to die. That's right, Francis Tavern. Talmadge Memorial. Erected in 1719. Wow. Chamber of Commerce founded here in 1768. Washington's farewell to his officers, December 4th, 1783. Centennial celebration of Washington farewell, 1883. Sons of the Revolution recognized here, December 4th, 1883. Building purchased and restored by the Sons of the Revolution as a memorial to Frederick Talmadge, 1905. Ceremony attending restoration, December 4th, 1907. United States of America plaque, Francis Tavern. This national treasure has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior circa 1719. Francis Tavern. After the American Revolutionary War, on December 4th, 1783, General George Washington bade an emotional farewell to his officers at a banquet held in the long room located on the second floor of this tavern. Samuel Francis, a West Indian innkeeper, was the proprietor. He later became Washington's chief steward. Francis, also an American patriot, was host to secret meetings of the Sons of Liberty and gave aid to American prisoners of war. The present building, purchased by the Sons of the Revolution in 1904, was restored by them on this site and has since been maintained by them. Plaque provided by the New York Community Trust, 1976. Wow. Somebody left their glasses there. These bricks are tiny. It's hard to tell from the picture, but take a look at that. These bricks are just teeny tiny. Wow. How awesome is that? Okay, I'm definitely coming back here. Finally made it to Rudy's. Let me check it out. the one I want. This is known as the Soho Cast Iron District. Why is it known as the Soho Cast Iron District? Cast iron. You can kind of see it more on that Dior building over there. You can see the rivets and everything there, but yeah, this is Soho. This is where all the people with money go shopping, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful area. But it is wild, yeah, these storefronts are cast iron. And also, you're talking pavers, Belgian pavers. Friggin' Belgian pavers, eh? Just been walking from the East Village to the West Village, and here's the look. This is a really hot spot, tons of shops everywhere. There's the world famous Monty's restaurant. Cafe Wa. Ooh, haha, there it is, guys. Wow. See, I didn't even realize I was going in this direction, and there it is, Cafe Wa. What is Cafe Wa? What? You don't know? Well, let's put it this way. Hendrix has played here. Bob Dylan has played here. It's actually a very, very important spot for some of the greatest and most legendary musicians of all time, and there it is. How cool is that? Right next to the Players Theater. Well, hey, there's a picture of Jimmy right on the door, my friend. Who else would you put on your front door if they played here? If Hendrix also had? I mean, I am a massive, massive Jimi Hendrix fan. Okay, here we are in Little Italy. This restaurant gets about the best reviews locally and on the internet. I had a really great conversation with two Ukrainian American guys today up at McSorley's. That's kind of my spot, McSorley's. They're really nice there. You can just stay as long as you want. It's affordable. They said, even the Ukrainian guys said, that's the place. El Cortil. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I think I'm gonna hit Cafe Napoli right there, because they had a pretty affordable menu, and actually it's about Provo prices, really. It's not bad. This is just kind of a look at Little Italy. It's popping, definitely popping. Just give you an idea of the pricing. Okay. And once you get 2 blocks that way, then you're in Chinatown, which is also super fun and festive. And then just up here a couple blocks, you're in Soho. So this is a very energetic part of town for sure. And then just a few blocks over, you got the West Village. I will say, when you get up into the village area, whether it's west, east, or Greenwich, it's a question of who's not smoking a spliff. I'm gonna say like 50% of the people are lit.